All right, today we're talking about putting the eco and the luxury in luxury vinyl tile with floor heating. So I guess it's not only just luxury that we're actually doing some comfort here as well. So as I said about 20 times before, my name is Julia Billen. I'm the owner at WarmlyYours, and this is my lovely sidekick. Introduce yourself there.
Hi, I'm Scott.
And Scott's in charge of everything technical at WarmlyYours. If you follow our video series, you'll see him a lot. He's quite the video star at this point.
Correct. We'll be talking about that raise right after this.
No, that's not happening. All right, today is all about you guys. This is why we do it live. We want you to ask your questions. We do ask for questions in advance, and I have a lovely sidekick over here as well, Nia Shea. She's off camera. She's a little shy. But as you guys are sending in your questions, she'll be reading them off to us. And of course, as we get to areas in the presentation where we are covering some of your questions in advance, we'll shout those out as well. So chat away, folks. But in the meantime, let's get started. Let's talk about the project that we are working on. We're going to talk about the why, but just big picture, we did a bedroom with luxury vinyl tile, and under that, radiant heating. So we always like to say, well, why would you even want to do this? So let's go over that first, Scotty.
Well, this is a bedroom, and it's on the second floor. And we just wanted to add a little comfort to the floor to make sure it's nice and comfy. And we chose LVT because it's a very popular choice right now. It's a very cost-effective flooring type, and it gives you the look of other more expensive products at a lower cost. It's also very durable. It's scuff and stain and scratch resistant. Some of them are even completely water resistant, depending on the type. And it can also last a very long time, 20 to 25 years, making it more sustainable.
And these are close to commercial grade, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, they have a really good, as it says, a really long life expectancy. Because we're using LVT obviously bends, and it's a little more, it can telegraph the subfloor through and let you see it. So what we do here is we install it a different way than we would laminate.
Okay, fantastic. So that's the why. Now let's talk about, in general, let's go to the next slide, about the products that we're going to use, because there's a couple ways that you could do this with our radiant heating products. And we wanted to show you both. We didn't want to have to do 2 webinars. Frankly, we're just a little lazy.
Yeah.
But you can do this with our cable product, our roll product. And so we wanted to kind of present those to you. Maybe talk a little bit about the difference between these 2 products, Scott.
Well, the TempZone is available either in mats where you roll them out, or it's available on a spool, and you can run it back and forth manually. In the mesh, in the rolls, it's spaced 3 inches for you automatically. So all you do is just roll out the mesh, and the cable spaced perfectly, and you cut and turn the mesh to fit into the space. Because it's a rectangle, sometimes it doesn't fit into odd-shaped places with curves, that sort of stuff. But the cable is more adjustable on the job site, so it's a little more flexible. So there's a couple ways of doing it. We wanted to show both ways of doing that. Both of them are going to get covered and covered with the same flooring. So we'll see how they differ slightly. Okay,
great. So it comes down to flexibility for cable. What I love about the roll is the cable is pre-attached. So the distribution of heat, how close or how far you're going to run that cable is already preset. So I love that. I think that's an easy way to go.
Well, the one thing we always like to mention and remind our installers is that it is very important how the wire is spaced. If there is no wire under a spot, that space is going to be cold. If the wires get too close together, that area could overheat. So that's why it's so important that the wire is already pre-attached to the mesh. The good thing about the cables is you can actually spread them apart a little bit further and lower the watts per square foot. This room that we did is on the second floor above a heated space. So automatically the floor is going to be 70 plus degrees. We don't need a really high output. We just want to get that particular space, the floor, to be warm. So we can do that at a lower watts per square foot, maybe 8 to 12 watts per square foot, as opposed to 15 watts per square foot on the roll.
Great. Now this is a perfect time, guys, if you have a question on one or the other, chat that in, and Scott can give you his expert opinion on which one he thinks is best for your application. All right, well, let's move along. Let's talk again about the project. You did this actual project. It's a bedroom. So the first thing that we always like is a sketch of the project. You can hand draw it as you've seen this one was done. You can design it online with our online tools on WarmlyYours.com. That's an option as well. What do you like about this particular sketch? And is there anything that's missing here so that we can all kind of get a little bit of an idea of what information should be collected?
The only thing that's missing on this particular drawing is where the customer wants the thermostat to be.
Okay.
Normally, that's where we would set up the whole heating system so the leads, the non-heating leads, can reach that thermostat. So that's the only thing that's missing on here. Also, we don't ever heat under permanent fixtures, and we don't heat under anything that's got a boxed bottom. Okay. So I can see that there's a bed called out here. The bed is going to be up on legs. That's fine. You wouldn't want a bed with a built-in box bottom that has like drawers and that stuff under it, because that will trap the heat.
So you would heat around that, not under it.
Correct.
Okay, I see we have some closets there.
And we don't heat in closets in the US, but in Canada you can if you put a thermostat in there. So we just want to know where the permanent stuff is going to be, and if there is any permanent items in the room. Also, we'd want to look on this particular floor. There are no air vents in the floor. They're in the ceiling. But if you have air vents in the floor, you'd want to call those out also.
And of course, accurate dimensions, that helps. So we love to get those dimensions. Dimensions change. Make sure that you're always checking any information that you're sending in. If it does change, we're happy to kind of redesign around those changes. And
you don't have to give us a work of art either. You don't have to be a Flemish artist from the 1500s to make a sketch that is good for an installation. Yeah. You simply make a drawing like this, give us the dimensions, take a picture of it, and then just email it to us if you want. And that way, it's very simple. Our engineers will do the install drawing for you, so you don't have to try to figure it out on your own, which is really a big help for people that have never installed floor heating before. Really Instead of trying to figure it out yourself, just have one of our engineers do it, and they do it every day. So that's all we need is this drawing.
And we turn those around 24/7, so you don't even have to wait that long for it. While you're sleeping, we're taking care of it. So, all right, let's go to what you get back. You send in the sketch. We come back with the installation plan. We call it a smart plan because it's smart to plan in advance. It's smart to know exactly all the turns that you're going to be doing, what you're going under, what you're not going under. Now, this is a smart plan, and it shows the roll product. And as you can see, it's very straightforward. You basically have a beginning, an end, and you have 1, 2, 3 cuts there? 3 cuts. And you're done. Again, nothing in the closet. This time you did go under the bed. So obviously there was some clearance there. And you selected the best location for that thermostat. Why don't you talk about that?
We're always going to assume that it's usually by the door that you enter the space.
Right.
So that's where it was put. When you get the drawing back from us, after you get this plan right here, you want to make sure that you've got power available to where the T is in a circle. You also want to make sure that the dimensions shown on the plan actually match the dimensions of the room. So you're going to take your tape measure and go, okay, this fits.
Right.
And you want to do that before you're there with the roll, because at that point it's a little too late. If you take a look at this drawing, you can see that we don't heat every square inch of the floor. No one ever stands up against the walls there unless you're me at a dance. So that you're going to be pulling the coverage closer to the center of the room where people are walking.
Right.
The theory is when you're in the room, your feet always want to touch something warm. On the way out, your foot may feel something chilly, or on the way in it may, but once you're in that room, you're not going to have a cold spot anywhere in that floor.
And I think this is a great tool to use with your customer to say, okay, you see that entrance right there where that thermostat is located. That's going to be a little bit cooler than the rest of the floor. Is that good for you? If not, we can warm that area. So it's a great tool to engage your customer. You engage your customer, you earn trust with your customer, and you win the opportunity.
And the camaraderie is there too. So you can discuss, hey, we've left this amount off around the perimeter of the room. That's going to do a couple things for you. It's going to reduce your upfront cost on the product. It's also going to reduce your cost operating it every day, because the fewer square feet you heat, the less expensive it's going to be to run.
Perfect. So this is an example of a smart plan of the TempZone Roll. That's the cable on mesh. Let's look at one that's cable only. And as you can see, this is a lot more cable. I don't know if it's a lot, but it's more, and it's a bit more labor intensive. You have the strips, which are notated there on the edge, left and right, and you're stringing that cable across the floor.
Now,
and you've done this. So.
Oh yeah. If you notice, you see along the right side, the numbers in green. That is the amount of distance from the wall to where the strip is.
Okay.
So there's no guessing. It's like, well, how far do I start this from the wall, or how far does it go, and that sort of stuff.
Oh,
we tell you
point.
exactly where it starts. So your strips, because you have to lay out your strips first. So you know that 5 3/4 inches from that right wall, I need to put my strips down. Then I go to the left side, and it just happens to be exactly the same on the left side, 5 3/4 inches. And that way I know that this plan is going to match exactly. If you take a look, there's a big red dot in the middle of that room. The reason why it's in the middle of the room is because it's halfway point of the cable. So that you want to make sure that as you're getting about halfway done, it says, hey, I'm halfway, and it matches right up where this red dot is. So that's where halfway is too. I'm good to go. If it ends up on the other side of the room and over in the corner, it tells you that you don't have your spacing correct.
So timeout.
Timeout, go back and redo that. You don't have to find that out at the very end. Yeah. Also, what's great about our heating cable is it tells you how many feet are left on the spool.
So as you're looking at the cable, you can actually see how many feet are left.
Correct. So
Brilliant.
they're 40, 39, 38. Oh, that's going to work out perfectly. So that's something that's on the cable. No one really knows to look there, and that's why I'm bringing it up right now.
I didn't even know it was there. All right, so we have an example of how you would do the plan with TempZone and now with cable. Again, great opportunity if you want to talk about the difference between the cable, the roll, and how it's installed. Chat us up. We'll get those addressed immediately, if not sooner.
One more thing. I want to take a look at the bottom of that drawing on the left side. Mm-hmm. And you can see there it says TCT 240, blah, 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 blah. That tells you the size of that cable. It tells you how many amps it is. So at that point, you know what the ohms are supposed to be. So you know how many amps it is. You can hand that plan to your electrician, and your electrician can get you the correct wiring in this space. Below that, you can see the triangle, which tells you where the start is.
Right.
And then you see the end is the square. And you can find those on the left side of the drawing. At the bottom of the drawing, you're going to see that little triangle with a 1 next to it.
Start.
Yep, that's where you're going to start the cable, and that black box in the upper left-hand corner is where it's going to end.
And you always want to start fairly close to where that control is located. So that's why, again, it's really a great idea to use our engineering team to design these for you, because we know all the tricks.
We know the cold lead is 15 feet long, so we're going to start the product within distance of that, the thermostat.
Perfect. Okay, so that's the overview of the smart plan. We got your sketch. We returned this plan to you. You've checked it to make sure that it's accurate. You've engaged with your customer, and we move forward with the project once everything is finalized there. So let's look at the next slide and talk about, in general, I always think it's important to understand how many square feet we're looking at here, how much of that is heated. What does that mean in terms of wattage and electrical requirements, as you indicated just now? And we get this question a lot, which is, how much is it going to cost to operate? You know, is it going to cost me an arm, a leg, my firstborn? And so we love to put that information out front for you and your customers so that you really can see operating costs is not that high, and exactly how much heat you are getting. You want to talk us through this, Scott?
Well, the simple thing, we didn't even kind of mention it on this drawing because it's all pretty self-explanatory. The entire space is 161 square feet. We're heating 129 square feet of that area at 15 watts per square foot. So your total wattage is 1935. What you can do is you can take that 1935 and multiply that times 3.41, and that will give you the number of BTUs that this system is going to deliver to that space. And if you've ever bought an area heater, one of those little portable area heaters, they always say 500 BTUs or 1100 BTUs or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's how you can get an idea of how this compares to those heaters. So you're getting a lot of BTUs in this space. It's very unobtrusive. It's below your feet, so
Right.
you're not going to have some big white box sitting over in the corner humming and blowing hot air at you. So it's a very efficient, and the amp draws about 8 amps, so you can put that on a 15 amp
Easy.
breaker. It's a non-GFI breaker. It's very important. We get this question all the time. What kind of breaker do I need to put this on?
And the answer is?
Non-GFI, because the GFI function is built into the thermostat.
Right.
So you don't have to go buy a special circuit breaker. That protection is already built into the thermostat.
And then the operating cost is right there. So that's a simple calculation. You take the total wattage, you divide by 1,000 to get kWatts, because that's what we pay in kWatts. And on average, about nationwide, 10 cents. Some areas less, some areas more, but we like to use that 10 cents per kilowatt hour just to give you a general idea of how much it's going to cost for operating this area. And as you can see, it's 19 cents for the first area, and about a third of that we usually tell people for each additional hour.
And the thing is we put this on a 240 volt circuit. Part of the benefit of that is if we put it on a 120 volt circuit, it would have been over 16 amps.
Right.
If you have over 16 amps, then you have to get another controller. And you don't want to do that. You just put it on a 240 volt system. 240 volt is not any more efficient than 120 is. It just allows you to cover twice the space with the same amperage draw.
So 19 cents for the first hour, 6 cents, a third of 19 for each additional hour. Now, looks like we may have a question coming in. Can you utilize a combination of roll and cable within a room if it's an existing installation?
Do you want me to ruin the surprise?
If it's an if it requires a modification or separation. So it indicates that is there a special method of installing a splice for either product?
Well, this is a great question, a question we get all the time. You never attach one heating product to another heating product.
So it's in parallel, it's not in series.
Right.
You like to say it's not Christmas lights.
Right. So if you have two individual heating products, both of those leads have to go back to the thermostat. They never wire together. So that's a great question.
And there is absolutely no reason, Dame, why you could not have part of it cable, part of it roll. Let's say you needed a little bit more flexibility from the cable in a smaller area. You certainly can do that. The larger area where you just want to come in and do one or two cuts, you could fill with the roll product.
So great question. That's something we get asked all the time.
All right. So, and then, there's no modifications required for installing a splice.
No, because there's not going to be a splice.
And the cold leads are already attached, so you don't have to splice those in. So I hope that answers your question. So project overview for TempZone done. Now let's look at the cable. Here, we're talking about the same room. We just wanted to show it to you both ways, so the entire space number is the same. But the heated area is a little different because we could get a little bit more cable into the room because of the flexibility of it. You can spread it 2 inches instead of the 3, or you could have spread it less if you wanted to get less coverage. But we just decided to go with a little bit more.
And if you take a look later on at the end of the webinar, you'll see the cost differences.
Yes.
And even though we had a little bit more cable and coverage in this room, the cable costs a little bit less still, because it's not attached to the mesh. So it's a lower cost product. It's more labor intensive to put in, but it's lower cost up front. So you can see our amperage is now 9.2 instead of 8.1.
Exactly.
Still fits on the same breaker.
Right.
Still fits on a 240 volt circuit, non-GFI circuit. And the cost per hour costs just a slightly bit more, but hardly anything else.
22 cents versus 19 cents for that first hour, and each additional hour is a penny. So very affordable, but we wanted to show it to you both ways. So let's move on now. That is the overall, this is your part now. We've done the overall floor plan and all the costs to operate. This is the part that you really love. Why are you always talking about testing?
Well, because you pay me to do that.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The thing is, when we talk about testing the system, is we want to make sure that the system gets tested as soon as you receive it.
Right.
You don't want to test the system first when you're going out and you're ready to install the floor. You want to get it when that box comes to your doorstep and has been dropped from a plane from 30,000 feet. It shows up in 1,000 pieces on your doorstep. You want to test it to make sure it's good. Because if it's not good, you can give us a call and we can get another one on the way to you before you even head out to the job site.
Now that rarely happens because it is QC'd 3 times before it actually hits that UPS truck, but always test the system upon arrival so that it's not dead on arrival.
Right, and you're going to, if you're installing this for one of your customers, you're going to want to have proof that yes, when we got it, hey, it was good, or hey, it was bad and we took care of it.
Makes you look good.
Yeah, it's completely transparent. And the thing is, this little mysterious yellow box at the top here is a very inexpensive tool. And it's a digital ohm meter. You can get them at any big box store for $20 or less. They're very inexpensive. Please get a digital one. Do not use the old analog one with the meter going back and forth. Those are very difficult for a normal human being to read. Then, once you're getting ready to install the floor and you know that you've used your ohm meter to test it, everything's good, you're then going to attach your circuit check to the product as you lay it out, because if something happens to it while you're installing it, it's going to go, hey, stop. And at that point, you can stop and give us a call.
Yeah, that's your lifesaver, and that's your lifeblood right there. Make sure that you're attaching the return power lead to that circuit check. Anytime you're laying it out, occasionally something happens. You can hit it with a trowel accidentally,
like that. Yep.
And then it'll put out a nice little chirp, kind of annoying little chirp, and that's your alert to say, okay, back up. Let's
stop what you're doing and let's get this fixed.
Let's get this fixed. All right, so are we done with that testing part?
Yes, this was fantastic.
All right. Now, this is the part where we got a ton of questions. So we're going to go through this cross section. This is big picture how the install is done, but we did get a lot of questions. So we're going to go step by step. We're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. So first thing we have is we have our plywood subfloor, because this is on the second floor. It's a bedroom. Did we get any questions, Neoshay, related to the subfloor?
Yes, Abraham is wondering what type of floor prep is required.
Okay, that's a great question. Scott, take it away.
Well, you always want to make sure that your floor is completely clean, dust-free as much as you can. Make sure all the nails have been either removed or pounded down into the subfloor. Make sure that the floor is nice and level. I remember in your basement when we installed a system there, we actually had to grind down a couple spots. Yeah. That's just part of the job. You want to get the floor nice and flat, because remember, LVT sometimes telegraphs the condition of the subfloor. So if there's a big crack in the middle of your subfloor and you put the LVT directly over it without using our heat or anything like that, over time you'll see that crack through the LVT. So what we want to do is we want to get that subfloor completely flat, clean, and then ready to install this product on top of it.
All right, so on top of that, we will be installing our floor heating, either the cable or the roll. But the other thing that we need to do for the subfloor is we need to prime it. And
before anything else goes on top.
All right, so subfloor, and then we need to prime it. The reason we're priming, folks, is we're going to be using a different technique to install the floor heating. We're actually going to embed it in self-leveling cement. And the reason we're doing that is because you mentioned that we need a nice, smooth, and level surface to install that luxury vinyl tile. So most of the time we see our floor heating installed in bathrooms. They use thin set to install the tile, but this is a little bit different. Talk us through the self-leveling.
Well, if in the house that we installed this in, it's a relatively new house. However, if this house were 100 years old, that floor in that upstairs bedroom would probably be shaped like this, like a great big bowl. So what the idea is, in an older space like that, where you know the floor has got a sag in it, you want to self-level it first before we even get to this part.
Gotcha.
So you're going to get that floor nice and level, because we've actually had people put our heating product in one of those old rooms, and they say, why are the edges of the room really, really warm and I don't feel any heat in the center? Well, because the cable or the system is 2 to 3 inches below the surface in the center, and then right under the surface on the edges. So that makes a big difference, because we want the heating wire to be within 1 inch to 1.5 inches of the top of the flooring surface.
Okay.
And if you've got 2 inches of self-leveling above the cable, the edges are going to be nice and warm, the center is going to be cool. So that's what you want to watch out for on older homes.
Okay, so make sure that subfloor is level. We have a question, Neoshay?
Yes, Gary is wondering if this method is CSA approved.
Gary sent his question in advance as well. The product is CSA approved, and in the testing of that, they do look at it in cementitious.
You told me I was going to have to say that.
How did I do?
Yeah, well, our product is actually CUL US, which is UL listed, tested to Canadian standards set by the CSA. So yes, this exact installation method is covered by CSA and also in the US and UL.
Exactly. So
the great thing about this is we're not talking about showers right now, but this wire, you don't have to worry about pouring a really wet product like self-leveling over it, because this particular product is also rated for wet locations. So it's automatically waterproof anyway. So that might help you, Gary.
But yeah, we have an office in Canada as well as the U.S. So whether it's UL or CSA, we're always testing to both. So to both standards, I should say. The important thing here about the reason why we love putting our floor heating into self-leveling cement as well is because things change, trends change, design change, taste change, and if you ever wanted to change out your flooring, it is so much easier to do it if it's embedded and protected by self-leveling versus in a 1/4 inch of thin set. Usually it's very difficult, and I've actually had to do it in my own home. I've had to try and replace a tile or two that became cracked because it was in thin set. I usually ended up damaging the cable and having to repair it. Had it been in self-leveling, it would not have been an issue. So we love the fact that embedding in self-leveling protects that heating element. You can come in 5, 10, 20 years later. We have installations that are almost at the 20-year mark. You can come in 20 years later. You can change that flooring out, not damage the floor heating.
You could even put carpet over the top. You could do whatever you wanted to. It's like a blank palette.
Yes.
Also, one thing that you want to look at, and I'm really good at getting the cart in front of the horse. But while we're talking about it, if you see a product and you're going to be purchasing a product like LVT, you want to see if they use the word embedded heat is okay.
Right.
So if they're saying, yes, you can use heat as long as it's embedded, this is embedded. So just so you know that term, if you're out looking for LVT and you see embedded, that's this installation.
And I had that vary. I actually purchased the product for this install, for this test. And initially when we approached the manufacturer, because they thought that the heating element would come in direct contact with the luxury vinyl tile, they did not want to provide a warranty. But they do provide a warranty if it's embedded like with a self-leveling cement. So we always recommend for a luxury vinyl tile to go with self-leveling. The other thing that I should talk about is when I first purchased this product, I noticed that the backing had, there were two. One had a rubber backing for waterproofing, and the other had a cork backing. I would assume that would, to be for noise. And we did some testing on those, and as long as the R value was not greater than
1,
we were able to get the distribution of heat. So don't be concerned about those backings. You can check with the manufacturer to see if they have a R rating for that backing, but the ones that we saw were very thin and did not have any problems with the heat penetrating.
The only reason we bring that up is because cork is a natural insulator.
That's right.
So you don't want to put floor heat in a floor, go to all that trouble and expense, and then cover it with an insulation layer before it even gets to your feet. So that's why it's so important to make sure that your R value is 1 or less.
Right. Neoshay, I think we have some more questions related to types of luxury vinyl tile.
Yes, Marty's asking if it could be click in lock or glue down.
That's a great question. I don't think it really matters.
Whatever you want to do.
Once the self-leveling cement is cured, dried, you can use any method that you want. You can glue it down, you can have it floating, no limitation.
The only thing you want to also look in the installation manual, whenever it comes to questions of can I use this for this or can I use this for that, it always says so in the installation manual, what you can do and what you can't do. So the one thing you want to make sure is you give your time, you give your SLC, self-leveling cement, time to dry out.
Yeah.
You also want to make sure that you give your product that you purchased time to get set to the particular room that it's going to be in. So they call that acclimation. So make sure it's acclimated to that space. So the thing is, you're probably going to find a guy come in and he's going to have one of those little, it's a tool that flooring people have, and it's something that says how wet the subfloor is. And they want to make sure it gets down to a certain percentage of water. So that's one thing, is you're not going to be in a real big hurry about putting this down, and then you'll be able to walk over it very quickly, especially if you use rapid set. You'll be able to walk over it in an hour or two. But you just want to make sure that it's dried to the correct amount of moisture content before you put the top over.
Yeah, I think we brought these in, we let them sit for, like 3 or 4 days, and we were ready to go.
And it tells you that in the instructions, how long you have to do that, what the water content should be if you're doing all that. So all that's going to be in your manual too.
Great. Nisha, did we cover everything from our registered questions?
Anna's wondering what the procedure for LVT that is self-adhesive and not click lock installation.
What's the same?
It's going to be the same, because it's just a different way of attaching it to the cement subfloor. So however you attach it to that space, if you want to float it, if it attaches, if it glues together on the edges, any of that stuff is going to be, you can do it however you want to, because the heat is going to be completely covered with a nice flat surface.
Yeah, it all works.
So which LVT, WPC, or solid core products should not go over radiant heat?
Anything that has an R value greater than 1.
And anything that says, do not use this over radiant heat. It's going to tell you in the manual.
I'll give you a little tip there. If it is certified for hydronic radiant heat, then you can use it with electric floor heating as long as it's embedded in self-leveling cement. And we're happy to work directly with your manufacturer to get the okay to go ahead on those things as well. The tech team can work with their tech team, because even though electric radiant heating has been around for 20 some years, hydronic heating's been around for
Hundreds.
100 or let's go back to the Romans, hundreds of years. So we can help you through that process to make sure you do not void any manufacturer warranties. Okay. So we've got our subfloor. It's nice clean. We've primed it because we're going to put in self-leveling cement. Over the primer, nice and dried out, we put either our cable or our TempZone roll. We float in that floor, and it cures, it dries, and then we start the installation of the luxury vinyl tile. All right. Let's move on. Looking good. So we're just wanted to give some quick visuals on what those things look like installed. This is directly on the subfloor. Do you want to talk through that for a moment?
Yes, never ever cut the heating wire.
That's a good one.
So you can see that the mesh has been cut and turned here, but we never ever cut the heating wire.
You're cutting that fiberglass mesh in between a loop, if you will.
Correct.
And sometimes you're cutting through the tape that's holding it. You can, if you need to, also take the cable off that mesh if you have a little area you want to cover and you're not using the cable in combination. And you can kind of glue that down or tape that down where needed as well.
And there are a couple hints that I've learned the hard way, specifically when it comes to this. When you're following your installation plan, also always make sure that the cuts and turns will fit in the space as is shown on the drawing. And at that time, go ahead and do your cuts and turns, but don't attach it to the floor yet. I've seen people go in and they start the roll, they staple it down, and they get to the end and go, oh, we really should have moved that 5 inches down.
Yes.
Now they're pulling up staples. So the secret is, don't ask me how I know this, is to do all your cuts and turns, make sure it fits in the space where it's going to fit, then go ahead and attach it to the subfloor. The next thing you have to learn, and you'd be surprised how many people call us about this, is when you're attaching to this to the floor, if you don't attach it to the floor very well, it will float up to the top of the self-leveling. So the thing is, self-leveling is very, very dense. And anything that's not as dense as it is, it will float to the top. So the secret is, if you take a look very carefully at this picture, you can see that the cable is facing downward on the mesh.
I do see
That's
that.
another question we get every single day. Is it go cable side up or cable side down? You want it to be cable side down. And then you staple through the mesh, not ever over the heating cable, never ever staple the heating cable or the cold leads. And do that every few inches because that's going to hold it down as you pour the self-leveling in. It will keep it from raising up.
Now, there may be some plans where you do have to flip the product over, the other wire side up, and that is it is allowed. It's just because Scott troubleshoots these things all the time. He wants that wire protected as much as possible, so it's down, the mesh is over it. But you can flip it and turn it up if a turn is required.
And if that's the case, you always want to make sure that the wire, when it's facing upward, the ends are going to want to go, let me make sure on the camera, they're going to want to go like this. So the mesh will stay down, but the corners will go up.
Okay.
So you want to make sure you hot glue those
corners.
corners down, and that will hold the whole thing down.
Nice little tips there. Good job. All right, so that's a quick overview of how to install the TempZone. Chat us up if you have questions on that, but let's move on to the cable. A little more labor intensive. As you can see, those strips are there. You can see that at the top of the screen. Now, how did you get those strips down? Do you staple those in? Do you glue those in? Is there a preferred method that you have?
When you're going into a subfloor like this that's wood, it's very, very easy. Just use a pneumatic nailer or a pneumatic stapler.
Okay.
Either one of those are going to hold that down really well.
I see we talk about concrete nails. Of course, if you're in a
Screws.
basement.
Yeah, you can use screws too.
Yeah.
Just do it every 3 to 4 inches. So each strip is about a foot long. So you want to have 3 to 4 screws into that to hold it nice and tight.
Okay, and then you're putting in your strips on each end. You know exactly how far to come in from the wall, and then you're starting to string that cable through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on an actual spool, so you can kind of just run with the spool back and forth. Did you get a lot of exercise doing that?
Yes, I did. And actually, we have a video of us doing the exact same thing in a basement.
Great.
So if you ever want to see how that's done, there are a couple little tricks of the trade when it comes to putting the cable down using the strips. So we have lots and lots of videos at WarmlyYours.com in the video section. Just go in and key in the word video, and our search function at the main homepage, it'll take you right there.
Cool. All right, so that's the cable install, and let's move on from there. We always love to talk about the floor sensor. Most people operate our floor heating on floor sensor temperature. And that's especially important for wood floors, engineered wood, luxury vinyl tile, because the manufacturers do have a limit on the temperature that they want the floor to get to.
And that's what's so great about electric heating and floors compared to hot water, because if you've ever read or ever looked at hot water systems, you see that if they try to regulate the temperature at a certain degree, it actually overshoots and gets too hot for a while.
Right.
Then it gets too cold. Then it gets too hot. Then it gets too cold. It's always doing this, hot water.
Right.
And actually, it can actually go over the temperature it's supposed to max out at. So the good thing about our thermostat is it will keep you within a degree of the temperature it needs to be at.
Yeah.
So there's no overshooting. There's no undershooting. It's always going to stay. If it has to be 84 degrees, it will stay at 84 degrees. It won't go 86, 87,
Right.
79, 78, and back and forth like a seesaw. This will keep it right where it needs to, actually within like 9/10 of a degree. So it's really a good thing. And if you have a flooring that says maximum temperature, you have to get this put in.
And for luxury vinyl tile and for engineered wood, you normally do see they like to keep those maximum temperatures somewhere between 82 to 84 degrees. And that sensor, you see the wire with the tip, that's what's responsible for regulating that floor temperature, and that gets over and connected to your thermostat. Some important things here is, Scott loves to say, do not touch a heating wire because your readings will be way off. So you have to go in between those loops. You don't have to go into the middle of the floor. You like to remind people of that, just 6 to 8 inches in. You can put it under, you can put it over the mesh, or if you're using cable, you're just going to put it directly on the subfloor.
My bit of wisdom, and I have very few bits of wisdom to share, but one of them is that if you're getting this and this is for your home,
Yeah.
you're going to want to get that thermostat box immediately, and you're going to want to take the sensor out of it, and you're going to want to give it to your floor installer.
It's precious.
It's precious, and you want to make sure that that person goes, okay, here is your sensor. This sensor is going to need to be put in when you're putting the flooring in.
Yes.
Not, okay, well, it's time to hook the thermostat a month later, and we go and open it up, and oops, there's the sensor.
There's the floor sensor. Now, we do have a fix for that if it happens. But guys, know about that floor sensor. It does exist. It is your friend.
And you can also order an extra one at the beginning, too.
It's a great idea.
The one thing you want to make sure is that you can put both sensors in. Both sensors, or neither one of them, can go in the same conduit as the electrical feed line going down to the floor.
So one is low voltage, the other is either 120 or 240 volt. You want to keep them separated.
Yes. And if you do install two sensors, only one of them gets hooked up to the thermostat. The other one gets tied up in a ball so it doesn't fall down into the wall and sits there. And if you have a failure, when we have failures of about 1 in 90,000,
Yeah, it's very rare.
very, very rarely do these things fail.
Yeah, it's no mechanical device there.
Right. So if you just want that extra bit of peace of mind, order a second one. Just don't wire the second one to the thermostat. Only wire one at a time.
Good stuff. Okay, so you can make sure that you're following manufacturer warranties by limiting that floor temperature with the floor sensor.
Right.
Brilliant. All right, let's move on. Now the fun stuff begins. So we get in, we are mixing up that self-leveling. Did you actually do this one?
I did not pour this, but I can
Okay.
tell you what you need to do before you even get to this point.
Talk about it.
And that is you want to, if you have floor vents, or if you don't want this stuff running into other adjacent rooms or spaces, you want to make sure that you dam the areas in front of the doorways, dam the areas around the air vents, because if you don't put some sort of barrier up around them, this self-leveling wants to go to the lowest point in your house, and it will go through the vent, down into the floor below you, and then down into the floor below. It wants to reach earth. So you need to make sure that those areas for it to sneak out are closed off. And that's really easy to do. You can use strips of Cerazorb, you can use strips of backer board, that sort of stuff, just to run it in front of the spaces where you don't want it to run into.
Okay. Yeah, and I was pretty surprised because what was in this bedroom before this was carpet. I was a little concerned that we would not have the height to put in the self-leveling, but it actually worked out really well.
It's only 3/8 of an inch of height that you're putting as the layer, because the thing is, the cable is about a 1/16 of an inch. So that 1/16 of an inch is going to be covered by 3/8 of an inch. It's going to be encapsulated by it. It's not going to sit on top of it. It's going to actually go around it. So your total lift from the subfloor to this 3/8 of an inch is simply 3/8 of an inch.
But always something good to check those thresholds, make sure that you have the room for that self-leveling. Same thing for thin set.
Right.
Okay. So we've put in the self-leveling, and let's move on to our next slide where, again, we've got to let that cure. So follow the instructions on the bag from the manufacturer for curing time. And at that point, we can start to install the luxury vinyl tile. That is beautiful. It really does, to me, look like a wood floor.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic, and it goes down so easy because it's just completely flat. It just, and it's not going to have any lines or anything in it from the from the subfloor. You know, so you're not going to see any lines where the plywood was or anything. It's going to be completely covered up, and it's like a pool table. It's nice and flat.
And I see a hammer and something that, and if that got accidentally dropped at this point, you're safe. Your floor heating is completely protected.
And let's say that you want to change the color. We talked about this before, but it's so important. 5 years from now, this color may be horribly out of date.
Yeah.
And you might want to just lift it up and put another floor of the same type. You may want to put laminate down. You may want to put carpeting down. You pretty much have a blank palette there. You can put anything on that you want.
That's beautiful. And then you do have a little side note there that if there's a foam or rubber backing, this is only if it's above one R value, that you can try to remove those.
Right.
But I haven't seen anything like that.
I've seen people do it with laminate.
Oh, really?
We've had people actually peel that stuff off the back of laminate. That was a big job, but they got the laminate they wanted.
They got it done. All right, so we have a beautiful flooring, and now the last thing we need to do is we've got to energize that floor heating, and the way we do that is we get it over to the branch circuit, and we let the wiring begin.
Most of in fact, everything we've shown up to this point can be done by anybody.
Yes.
All you need to do is watch our videos. We have tons of videos that show how to do all these types of installations. But when it comes to hooking it up to the main electrical system, that's where you're going to have the electrician come in.
Hold on.
Right.
Stop right there. Let's call someone who's been certified.
Right. And the thing is, most people say, well, I'm going to have an electrician put the floor in. Well, just by having an electrician wire it, you've saved a couple hours of labor of the electrician doing it yourself. You just say, hey, come in and do the hookup. That's an hour's visit, and he's done.
Okay, so local code may require that this be done by a licensed electrician, but even if it doesn't, we always recommend that you have a licensed electrician, especially if you're dealing with 240 volt.
Right, right. And if you ever have any questions, you're getting to this point, and you want to call us, we're always available too. So give us a ring.
Yeah, we can walk you through wiring this with FaceTime these days. It's really easy for us to see exactly what the electrician is doing. We can work in conjunction with whomever's on site to make sure they ground it, make sure they've wired it to the correct circuit type. So we're here to support all of that.
Perfect.
Okay. And we do have a variety of thermostats that are available. You guys that have been following us for some time know that we just launched, it's probably been about a year, the Inspire series, the most popular being that Inspire Touch in the lower left-hand corner. But there are many options available. If you like the sophisticated new age Wi-Fi, we've got that. If you want to keep it simple, we have the Entrust. So a variety of options available for your customers, and we can walk you through which one best suits the application as well.
The great thing about these is that they are retrofittable to all of our products.
That's
so
right.
If you bought a floor 20 years ago, this thermostat will work with that.
With the sensor that's already embedded in that floor. So that is, it's just great that we can do that and bring everyone up to state of art technology. All right, so that's the finished project. Beautiful bedroom, great floor. Before was carpet, which probably had been in there a good 10 years. So we won't say what we thought about that carpet, but the finished product is beautiful. What did you think of doing this project?
The proof is in the pudding. I mean, sometimes it seems like, oh, I don't even know what this is going to look like. But all you need is a picture of this and go, wow, this is really great.
Yeah.
Because it turned out fantastic.
Affordable in so many ways. The flooring material, affordable. The floor heating, also affordable. Let's talk about that next. So we wanted to break it down for you guys because it's always interesting to see, okay, the size of the room, the type of room, the products used, but how much does it really cost? What is the list price, if you will? And as you can see, this with a TempZone roll came in a little under $1,500, $1,375, cha-ching. And that included the control and that handy little circuit check that is absolutely the lifeblood of every project. So affordable.
Right. What we're not showing here is the labor cost because you can probably do it yourself. So if you just have an electrician come in and hook it up, then you're just adding a little bit to this. You're still going to stay under $1,500.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent point. Let's move on now to the cable. The cable, as you pointed out earlier, got a little bit more coverage, but a little less cost because a little bit more labor involved there. You may pay a higher labor rate. And that came in right around $1,000, including control. So again, very affordable. We do have professional discounts available for you guys out there for all the pros. So we're happy to assign account managers to you and make sure that you get your appropriate discounts. So affordable, $1,000 to $1,500, depending on the product that you're using. All right. Any questions out there? I know that we got a few questions we haven't covered yet, so let's go over those while people are thinking.
Okay, Tim is wondering, are any LVT manufacturers voiding their warranties if in-floor heat is installed?
I have actually heard that some are voiding their warranties if electric floor heating is installed. Absolutely. I do think more and more are coming around. It's very surprising to me when I see that it is warranted under hydronic, but not under electric, because especially embedded electric, we have such precise control over those flooring temperatures that you don't have in hydronic. So for us, it's a matter of education. And that's why I say get us involved, because we can work with the tech team of the manufacturer to get them the right information that they need to make the right decision. So,
Yeah, the flooring companies are surprisingly lagging a little bit in development, or they're kind of lagging behind, because they go, oh, radiant heat, that means water, right? And you go, no, it's not water, it's electric. And here's why electric is better. And they go, oh, really? You can stay within a 9/10 of a degree? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that sounds great. I mean, all you really have to do is tell them that, because I don't know why they think electric is, when it's embedded like this, is any different, because it's a heating source that's embedded in concrete, just like the
hydronic.
just like the water is.
Yeah.
Also, Kim is wondering, do you warrant the cost of replacing the LVP installed on top of it, thinking if there was a surge of electricity and created a hotspot somewhere?
If there is a manufacturer defect of any kind, we absolutely not only warrant our product, but we also warrant the flooring that's installed, as well as the labor to have it replaced.
The one other thing, Julia, that is you won't see on our warranty is a prorated warranty. So let's say that your product fails, 10 years into a 20-year period, you're only going to get 50% off of a competitor's product that has a prorated warranty. Our warranty has no prorated. If it happens 19 years and 364 days, it's still going to be fully covered, not prorated at 1%. So it's a much different warranty. So what I always talk to people about, and make sure that I stress to them, is when you're looking at warranties, look for the word prorated on that warranty.
And then alarm bells should go off?
Alarm bells should go off.
All right. So yeah, the answer is absolutely. If there's a manufacturer defect, it's called a no-nonsense warranty. We take care of everything A to Z, subfloor to finished flooring surface.
A lightning strike, however, is not a factory issue.
That's a Mother Nature thing.
That's a Mother Nature thing. Somebody dropping a hammer on the product when it's getting put in, or
That's
cutting
an
it.
idiot thing.
That's an installation issue. So just giving people a couple ideas of what can happen out there.
Yeah.
So a lightning strike per se would not be a warranty item, because it's not a factory defect.
Manufacturer defect. Got it. Any other questions out there? Well, that means you've done a good job.
I guess so.
Well done, Scotty. So if you like what we do here, we do this every month. So join us next month. We do this the second Thursday of every month, 1 p.m. Central Time. And we're really going to be talking about how to repair in-floor heating.
You know why this is so important?
Tell me why.
Because when people call us and they go, I think I might have a problem, does that mean I have to rip up my entire floor? No. You don't have to rip up your entire floor. You can find the spot exactly where it is, fix it, cover it back up, and you're ready to go.
It's easier than you think, and we've been doing this almost 20 years, so we know all the tips, the tricks, and the traps, so we can tell you how to get those floors repaired and operating. And this is a really great time for this subject, because it starts to get a little cooler, people start to turn on their floor heating, and for whatever reason, it may not work. And we get a lot of tech calls around this time. I think the timing is pretty perfect. So join us next month for that. And we love to talk about what's happening with our promotions. So we introduced our new LED mirrors, beautiful. And we have an October promotion. You can save 25% on those LED mirrors. So check out our new Marquee series of LED mirrors. You love this product.
Love it.
What do you love so much about it?
So I can see myself even better.
That's what I thought. All right. So other than that, folks, if you loved what we do, give us some feedback. If you want to know more about other topics, we want to hear that as well. So let us know what you think. Tell us what you want to hear about. And then contact us. My email's there for a reason, jbillen@warmlyyours.com. The buck does stop here. So email me directly or info@warmlyyours.com. And, we're here for you. Our website it's a great tool for videos. Facebook, it's always interesting to see what we're blogging about. We're on Instagram with a lot of great photos. So just keep in contact. We'd love to hear from you.
Any questions, let us know.
All right. So other than that, until next time,
Stay warm.
and be radiant. Thank you, guys. Take care.